Rule 10. Traffic Separation Schemes. This rule applies to traffic separation schemes adopted by the organization and does not relieve any vessel of her obligation under any other rule. Rule 10 adds an extra dose of traffic management for a number of specially designated areas having high density traffic, converging traffic, or some exceptional hazard. In this situation, more conventional navigation rule that not provide a desirable margin of safety. A vessel of less than 20 meters in length or a sailing vessel shall not impede the safe passage of a power-driven vessel following a traffic lane. A vessel not using a traffic separation scheme shall avoid it by as wide a margin as is practicable. A vessel shall so far as practicable avoid anchoring in a traffic separation scheme or in areas near its terminations. Rule 11. Application. Rules in this section apply to vessels inside of one another. Rule 12. Sailing vessels. Rule 12 tells which of two sailing vessels must stay out of the way of the other and covers all situations except overtaking. Rule 13 outranks Rule 12 and say the overtaking vessel shall stay out of the way of the overtaken vessel, whether it be a sailboat overtaking another sailboat or a sailboat overtaking a power-driven vessel. If a vessel with the wind on the port side sees a vessel to windward and cannot determine with certainty whether the other vessel has the wind on the port side or on the starboard side, she shall keep out of the way of the other. If a sailing vessel with the wind on the port sides sees a sailing vessel to windward and cannot determine with certainty whether the other sailing vessel. For the purposes of this rule, the windward side shall be deemed to be the other opposite to that on which the mainsail is carried, or, in the case of square-rigged vessel, the side opposite to Tayton, which the largest fore and aft sail is carried. Rule 13. Overtaking. Overtaking on the water is pretty much like overtaking on land. The driver of the faster car is looking forward at the car to be passed and hence is in a better position to plan and execute the maneuver. From the bridge of most largest vessels, the view to the rear is substantially more limited than the view to the front. Should there not be room to pass, the overtaking vessel always has the option of slowing down. The vessel to be overtaken will often be unable to go any faster. Rule 13 therefore requires the overtaking vessel to keep out of the way of the vessel being passed. At night, if you are approaching a white navigation light but can see no side light, you may be overtaking another vessel or perhaps approaching an anchored vessel or meeting a vessel head-on beyond side light range. And so you should stay clear until you know better the actual situation. If you see a white light and later a colored side light, either you could be overtaking and have come up enough to move into horizontal sector of the side light, having first seen the brighter white mast headlight and then later the less visible colored side light. Rule 14. Head-on situation. When two power-driven vessels are meeting on reciprocal or nearly reciprocal courses so as to involve risk of collision, each shall alter her courses to starboard so that it shall pass on the port side of the other. Risk of collision must exist for Rule 14 to apply. In theory, two distant vessels approaching nearly head-on may, by the time they near each other, be so far apart. If you close enough to to another vessel to determine that you are meeting nearly head-on, you most likely will also be in risk of collision. Rule 15. Crossing situation. When two power-driven vessels are crossing so as to involve risk of collision, the vessel which has the other on her own starboard side shall keep out of the way and shall, if the circumstance of the case admit, avoid crossing ahead of the other vessel. Rule 15 does not apply to power-driven vessel, restricted in ability to maneuver, engage in finishing, or not under command. Remember, towing vessel with their tows are considered to be ordinary power-driven vessel unless they are severely restricted in their ability to deviate from their courses. See Rule 3. Rule 16. Action by give-way vessel. Every vessel which is directly to keep out of the way of another vessel shall, so far as possible, take early and substantial action to keep well clear. Rule 16 applies to the give-way vessel, the one directed to stay out of the way of the other. Rule 17 assign more complicated responsibilities and privilege to other vessel, the stand-on vessel. Rule 17. Action by stand-on vessel. Rule 17 assign responsibility to the vessel with the right of way, the stand-on vessel. The text of the rule does not use the term stand-on vessel, but instead describe it in paragraph as the other vessel that is not give-way vessel, not the vessel required to keep out of the way. When does this rule apply? It applies only in situation covered by Rules 12, 13, 15, and 18, which required one vessel to stay out of the way of another. When from any cause the vessel required to keep her course and speed finds herself so close that collision cannot be avoided by the action of the give-way vessel alone, she shall take such action as will best aid to avoid collision. Turning away from the give-way vessel decreases the rate of approach and increases the time each vessel has to take in further avoid action. Turning toward the give-way vessel may well place the stand-on vessel in much more dangerous situation. If the give-way vessel has initiated a turn to starboard just before or simultaneously with the stand-on vessel maneuver,